Hi there, my name's Pete and I like pictures. Welcome to this very first video of 2020 on this, my YouTube channel. In this video, I will talk a bit about 10 photography habits that I think are very useful because there's a law on the internet that says if you have a YouTube channel that you more or less frequently post videos to, you have to make at least one list video. So this is my list video, 10 photography habits, 10 good photography habits. I'm still working on my video with the AMA and FAQ. So what I found though, I mentioned that in the last video, what I found though that many of the questions I got could be filed under beginners questions, which I like very much because that always makes me pushes me forward, trying to find explanations that everyone can understand. So what I'm currently doing, because I also had a couple of questions and suggestions regarding that, I'm putting together a series. I have to be cautious with the microphone. I'm putting together a series of videos in sort of beginners videos. So really the absolute basics of digital photography. So if you have any questions regarding that, if there's something you think you don't understand, and please don't hesitate to put these questions in the comments. I will try to do my best to explain these things as simple and as easily as ever possible. So, or if there's something that you think you haven't understood really correctly, or you have no idea about what that is, please don't hesitate to either put it in the comments on this video or any other video for that matter, right, on my channel, or send me a message on my blog, tvum.tumblr.com. This is the blog where you can also find my photos, by the way. I realized, there's one thing I realized, I rarely show my photos in my videos, which I should probably, right? So enough rambling for the intro. Let's start. Good photography habit number one. As soon as we come home from a day of shooting, or when we're on vacation, when we come back to the hotel or the apartment, wherever we're staying, right? Replacing the battery in our camera with a freshly charged battery and putting the old battery in the charger. So very, very important, so that we always have a charged battery in the camera, which demands, of course, to having at least one set of spare batteries, which is kind of, if you don't have anything, if you don't have any piece of equipment for your camera other than the camera and maybe a lens itself, right, then a spare battery is kind of the one thing that you want to have, for the simple reason that many cameras use very specialized batteries that you don't just get somewhere in a supermarket, right, or in a drugstore, wherever. Good photography habit number two goes in the same direction, replacing the memory card in the camera with a new one, with an empty one, or at least one with lots of space on it. I'm going to talk about that more specifically, why I say with a lot of space on it. Idea is the same, right? So that we have a camera ready for shooting. So yes, sure, memory cards, it's usually, depending on which kind of camera you have, usually easier to get a hold on memory cards, because most or many cameras simply use SD cards. So we can get them in drugstores or in any kind of electronic store, but well, sometimes there's no drugstore close or no electronic store close. So there's that. Good photography habit number three, as soon as we come home, importing the photos from the memory card, right? Replacing the memory card in the camera with a new one, taking the memory card to the computer, importing the photos right away. That will spare us, or at least it spares me, since I made this a habit, a lot of wondering whether did I import those photos already? Can I format the card? Yes or no, right? And then they're safe. So even if we lose a card, or if a card goes corrupt, immediately importing them. So very good habit, saved me a lot of trouble. Good photography habit number 4, which should be good photography habit number 1. And if you only do one thing on that list, this should be the one. I'm talking about backing your photos up. I made a video on my backup strategy. I'm aware that this is not the most perfect backup strategy, but it works for me. If you want to check it out, the link is somewhere up here or here. At least it's in the description. I rambled a lot. The short version is importing the photo. I import my photos with Lightroom. Lightroom has the possibility, or gives us the possibility, to immediately make a backup of the photos during import on a different drive. Important thing is to really make a backup on a physically different drive. Some people make a backup on a different folder. Bad idea. If the drive fails, that folder is gone as well. So external hard drive, backing the photos up to the hard drive, then making a second backup, maybe to some sort of cloud space, whatever you choose, but it has to be a physically different drive as well. So that is in short words my workflow. I also managed to save the edits of my photos. Very important. Even if my Lightroom catalog fails, I still have the edits. Because Lightroom also gives the possibilities. It's a bit hidden in the menu settings. If you're interested in that, check my video on that subject out. So back up your photos. Very, very important. Good photography habit. Good photography habit number 5, have an empty memory card. And I will add a fully charged battery in your camera bag. The thing with memory cards is they have become comparatively cheap. So you don't have to, I don't have the biggest and fastest cards as backup cards in my camera bags. What I did, because my new camera has a bigger resolution, therefore bigger file sizes, so I got bigger cards. I usually work with 32 gigabyte cards. I have 164 gigabyte cards that I usually use for video, because even bigger file sizes. But I prefer, by the way, and I mentioned that in a different video, I prefer smaller cards for the simple reason that if a card fails, then the smaller the card, the fewer photos are lost, right? So this, of course, you kind of have to find a balance. I found that 32 gigabyte cards now, with the new camera, the bigger file sizes are a good size. So I got new cards, and I use the old 16 gigabyte cards that I used to work with as backup cards, and I have them in my camera bags. I also have a microfiber cloth in each camera bag, so to be able to clean lenses. And well, of course, batteries are pretty expensive. I don't have fully charged batteries in every camera bag, but having a fully charged camera battery in the camera bag, also very, very good idea, right? So as I mentioned, in good habit number 1, taking out the empty or the used battery, right? Putting it right away in the charger, replacing the battery with a charged one, and then in the morning taking out the charged battery, or as soon as it's charged. Don't leave it in the charger too long, depending on which charger you have. Some have safety circuits built in, but taking it out as soon as the battery is charged, and put it in the camera bag. Good photography habit number 6 is never delete photos on your memory cards. So I don't say, don't get me wrong, I don't say don't reuse memory cards. What I mean by saying don't delete photos is that I mean don't delete photos, but format the card once the card is full and you backed up your data. The reason is very simple. If we delete photos, if we delete a photo on a memory card, this means one read and write access to the card. If we delete 1,000 photos, this means 1,000 read and write accesses to the cards. If we delete 5,000 photos, you get the picture, right? So when we format a card though, there's only one read and write access to the card. So the card doesn't wear out that fast. I don't say that deleting photos is something bad and you should never do that, but just don't make it a habit. Make a habit of filling the card, right? Even using a card that's not fully completely filled a couple of times until it's filled, depending on your workflow. I work with Lightroom, no problem for me. I just check that little checkbox that says don't import duplicates or something like that. I have to check. So Lightroom will check if the photo is already on the drive, and if it's on the drive, it won't import it. So I have no problem. As soon as the card is full and I have my photos backed up, I will format the card. Good photography habit number 7, which comes in handy when we're on photo trips, a couple of days photo trips, or when we're on vacation, right? Having one card per day. So replacing the card when we get home to the hotel, right, with the card for the next day, importing the photos right away to the computer, and then putting that little lock on the card so that I see, okay, this card, I already used that card. So because memory cards will fail. Sooner or later, a card will fail, or we'll lose a card, or a bag gets stolen, or whatever, right? Or terrible things can happen. Camera can get stolen, or the camera falls down a cliff, or whatever, right? Which is terrible. But we still have at least the photos from the days prior. So what I do when I'm on holiday, when I'm on vacation, I take the card out, import the card to the computer, when I have a computer with me, that is, right? Put that little lock on, and then put the card in the safe, and then at the end of the holiday, take it all out. So I still have all the photos of all the days on cards on my computer. So even if my computer breaks, I still have all the photos. So I found this a good habit. And even smaller cards, like 16 gigabyte cards, which are not expensive anymore. I don't know how many photos you take. A 16 gigabyte card usually is more than enough for one day of shooting for me. Good photography habit number 8, and I have to say I'm guilty of not doing this all of the time, but this is one of the New Year's resolutions that I have, right? Is to immediately repack my camera bag as soon as I'm home. So while the photos are importing on my computer does that, right? I repack, reorganize my camera bag, because when I'm outside and I put everything back together again, I usually don't really bother the order of things, right? I just put it in the bag so that nothing breaks. And so putting stuff right away into the camera bag again in the way they should be in there, always a good idea. As I said, I'm guilty of not doing that most of the time, but it's one of my New Year's resolutions that I will do that more often, because it saves a lot of time. And then the next day of shooting, everything is where it belongs to, right? And we don't have to fumble around too much in the bag. Good photography habit number 9, RTFM. Read the manual. Have you ever read your camera's manual from back to front, or from front to back? Back to front, probably not a good idea, depending on which part of the world you live in. I haven't. I have to admit that. There's one camera and one manual that I really read from front to back. That was when I got my first camcorder, which is about some 20 odd years ago, and I really read that on my way. I was on the train, I was alone, right? Had nothing to do, so I read the manual, didn't understand a word because I had no idea about video cameras, right? And everything that, in that manual didn't really make sense to me. So, reading the manual probably is not something anyone would do or even expect to do. The thing though is cameras become more and more complex. So what you should do definitely is to at least flip through the manual. The manual of my new camera is more than 500 pages thick. No, I didn't read it, but I flipped through it. And this is the good habit that we should probably do, is because those manuals usually don't come printed anymore, but only as PDF versions to download. So download the manual to your tablet or to your phone, and so that you have it ready. Because sooner or later you will run into a problem and you will run into something you don't understand. And yes, sometimes Googling helps, but the manual is also very, very helpful. And sometimes even more helpful than what we find on online forums or via Google. So putting the PDF version of your camera's manual on your phone or on your tablet, always a good idea. It helped me tremendously with my new camera. There were features that I didn't know what to do with them, or where to find them, or how to enable them or disable them. Just a quick glance into the index of my manual, and then reading through the chapter, problem solved. Last but not least, good photography habit number 10, connected to good photography habit number 8, when I was talking about reorganizing your camera bag as soon as you got home, is cleaning your equipment frequently, especially when we're outside. I don't clean my tripod when I come home, and especially when I'm on vacation, because it will get dirty the next day anyway. But we should make a habit of cleaning the camera gear, the camera itself, sensor cleaning when necessary, etc., 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 more or less frequently. So it's not only that it's dirty, but the problem is that dust and sand can get into the gear, especially on tripods, and then jam the locks or whatever. So maybe once a month or once a week, depending on how much you use or we use our gear, it's a good idea to make a habit of cleaning the gear. And so we can also check whether we still have everything, right? Adapter plates, everything is still there, putting that back in the bags, whatever. So cleaning the gear, number 10. And I think that's it for today. I have a couple more, but I think the video was long enough. If you enjoyed this video, if you found this video helpful, if you liked the tips and tricks, if you have any more tips and tricks, please let me know. Put them in the comments, either on YouTube or on Tumblr, on my blog, tvoom.tumblr.com. And if you haven't already, it might be a good idea, if you enjoyed that video, to subscribe to that channel. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And I think that's it for today. Bye bye. Till next time.